Hi, Ligita. It's great to have you with me today. We had the opportunity of having like a 20-minute conversation before scheduling this, and we got to know more about each other. Well, it was longer than 20 minutes, if I remember right. Uh, and we dove into more of podcasting and stuff. And I know that you're starting a podcast and you have a few episodes created already. So I'm just going to start off with, you're on here to share your journey with others, whatever that is. And if we could just dive into who Ligita is. So if you don't mind just sharing who you are today, and then we can go back in time and discover how you got to where you are.
Hi, Jonathan. Nice to be on your show, and it's an honor for me to share my story. I always feel excited to share, to talk, to share, to speak, because this is my passion and my also. Um, Now I know my purpose of life to speak and to share. So, who am I? That's a good question. Who am I? Right? Who are you? Hello. I'm a multidimensional, multi-layered person that is really for me difficult to put into one frame of who I am. Because I can see that I'm an artist, I'm a spiritual coach, I'm a writer, I'm a poet. I, it can be so many things. So you choose, you pick how you want to see me. But I'm simply a human being having a spiritual experience and navigating this world the best that I can, the tools that I have. And it has been a crazy and very interesting road so far, the road of life.
And so what are you most passionate about today?
Today, oh, I'm passionate about discovering of the topic of authenticity, because that's my path. I have been on consciously since 2018, 2019, and it really sparks the fire within me. Any topic that comes about authenticity. So, and it can be anything: authentic art, authentic self-expression, authentic relationships. So it's a very wide topic. So yeah, but this is what inspired me the most in the moment.
Okay. And let's dive into how you got to be more authentic and find yourself, and maybe you're helping others become themselves as well. So if you don't mind, let's somewhere in your life, wherever you want to begin, let's experience what you went through to get to where you are today, to get to that person that you are as your authentic self.
Oh, okay. Then do you want me to start from very childhood, or
Would that be the best place to start?
actually, yeah,
Okay.
it, it could be. So I I was born in Lithuania, uh, and I born with some medical difficulties from very beginning. It was very hard for me to breathe. I was suffocating, and my parents were literally them in shock. One was sleeping, another was staying uh, during the night just to protect me from suffocating. And yeah, it was a bit difficult childhood of mine. I spent a lot of time in the hospitals. I visited the USA, by the way, at some time for surgeries. And later on, and by the way, yes, I grew up in a very strictly religious family that was very, and still is very dogmatic, and I really didn't like that pressure. I just somehow knew in my spirit that that's not the path, at least not for me. And yet, since my childhood, Jesus was my invisible friend that I used to communicate, and now I communicate again. So when I was a kid, I was very into my imagination. I was very, because I spent much of time alone because my parents didn't put me in social environment because of my health condition. I spent much of time alone. And what children do when they are alone, they are diving into their imaginary world, which is not imagination, it's a spiritual world, actually. So that's how I started my childhood. And then I grew with that religion. And at some point during the teenage time when I was the most rebellious, and I saw that religion that I was taught just simply doesn't work for me. I couldn't relate, couldn't connect to that. So I threw it away and I went to live my life without any religion. And yeah, at some point, I came back to the teachings of Jesus. Let's say like that. And that happened because of many hardships that I experienced with my relationships. And those were my greatest lessons. And because of that, I had the topic of silence in my life became very dominant. So I stayed much of my time in silence, actually forced silence for the last maybe 6 years. I just couldn't move any more further, and life conditions happened in the way that I was not able to move anymore. I had to stay and to face myself, to face my traumas, to face my emotions that I resisted for quite some time. And that's where I found back the connection to Jesus that I lost. That's when I started seeing the true meaning of the Bible. I started understanding the Bible differently than I was taught. And yeah, now I'm in the stage, in the process of a very beautiful rebirth.
That's awesome. So you for the past 6 years, you were diving into the Bible more. I mean, can you kind of explain more of exactly what you meant by that? Did you read more of the Bible? Did you listen to more? Did you pray more? You know, what was the action you were taking?
Well, it came more like I bought a Bible at some point, but it came more like my direct communication with Spirit. That invisible friend of Jesus, she had been always present. That's what I recognized. I was having those communications with him, but I took it as, oh, I just love talking with myself, or oh, I just have an extraordinary imagination comparing with other people. When I realized that that was never a case, that was spiritual world communicating with me. And since 2018, I woke up to the fact that, wait a second, this is something more than just my imagination. This is something more than my talking with myself. And I started paying a closer attention. So I came back to that dialogue with Jesus more and more. And I was getting simply memories from the Bible, because when I was a child, I was really paying attention to the teachings of the Bible. And for example, I live a situation, for example, in terms of relationship, and something happens, and then at the inside, I get the verses from the Bible to explain me what was happening or what needs to happen in that relationship. So now for me, it's easier to Google the Bible, and because in the book, I'm still a bit confused how to find that, because I'm not good at memorizing those, Mark or Luca or something, but I'm memorizing by the message that was shared in the Bible. So I Google every time, and it's like you know that feeling when it hits you straight to your core, and you know that it's so true that you just can't deny it. Or another way how the Bible shows that in my life is, I love writing. Writing is my medicine, and when I sit and when I write, I feel that it's not me who is writing. The moment I put the fingers on my keyboard, I just observe how my body is moving, tighten, and the thought just flowing, and I'm like pushing myself from a side, and I'm like, wow, bravo, Lily, go on, write. And before starting to write, I have no idea what I'm going to write about. More or less, I know the topic, but not the content. When I finish writing and I read it, I'm like, oh my God, that's a masterpiece. It's not me who wrote it. And that's when I get those insights into the Bible. For example, when it comes to manifestations, I was writing the article about how manifestation works. And I got a memory from the Genesis part, how God created the world. And when I started writing, I just wrote something that I never thought about. But when I read it, it made total sense, because every religion is talking about it, just in different perspectives. New Age also talking about it. It's just the same model. So that's how my relationship with the Bible is. It's not that I read it constantly, but I'm being brought back in different situations for a reason.
Cool. Yeah. And so, I'll share a little bit. I do have sometimes problem reading it and trying to understand it. So that's where I would go to church and listen to it, where it's kind of like broken down in plain English in a way from the pastor. Plus I use like an app or whatever, and it has a daily verse and all that stuff, and somebody's explaining it too. So, I mean, there's so many ways that we can take in information, whether it's the Bible or something else, and try to learn it in a different way. And that's like podcasting. Like, we talk to each other, and the way you hear from other people, you can kind of understand it in the way that works for you. So I know you're big in being authentic and finding yourself to be authentic. So along the way, I'd like for you to share like what's authentic or authenticity to you, and what was it that kind of got you to that point where you felt like that you were being yourself?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, my greatest teacher in life was my relationships. And because of those fallouts and like, I would say really, it was massive betrayals from people that I didn't expect at all. It helped me to come back to myself. And more specifically, coming back to self, how does it look like? What does it mean? And because now many people, it's like a mainstream, almost come back to yourself. What it means silence and stop running from emotion. I started paying closer attention to what I am feeling. And especially when I'm around people. What am I feeling when I'm around people? And that's when I realized that so many times what I was thinking and what I was feeling actually was telepathy with other people. It was not my thoughts, it was not my feelings. And that's when it became very clear to me that I didn't have energetic boundaries at all. I was literally walking physical manifestation of the thoughts and emotions of other people about me. I had a very low self-esteem actually because of my looks, and because of simply people didn't take me seriously. I was in the environment that didn't take what I had to say seriously. And I was full of wisdom from early childhood. Strangers were amazed about how much wisdom I was having. But when it comes to my close environment, nobody took me seriously. And Jesus says also, a prophet will not be respected in his hometown and his household. That's why we need to go on that hero journey to leave home, to leave our environment in order to find who we truly are and be respected by our gifts that we have. So that's what helped me to, actually spirituality that helped me to be more authentic. And I like having those conversations on my podcast to authenticity through spirituality, because now when I found this spiritual aspect of myself, I strongly believe that we can be truly authentic only when we connect to the spiritual aspect of life. Otherwise, yes, we can be authentic on a very superficial level. But if we want to be truly authentic, we must dive deeper. And that was my way of coming into my authenticity. It was by discovering all of those spiritual experiences and what it means and how it works and energy dynamics between relationships, and then just simply dismantling my beliefs, because I realized that I took over many beliefs that were not mine, and I started testing those beliefs. Hey, this doesn't work. That's not mine. Hey, this I believed. It just doesn't make sense. Why do I even believe that? Let's drop it. So my personal recipe is just dropping down any burden, whether it's mental, whether it's emotional, whether it's practical. I had to leave quite a few friends just to realize that they were like energetical blockages in my life, because I was not aware how much they were competing with me in silence, how much they were sending me negative energy by being envious, by being jealous. And I was like, yeah, literally, that's what helped me be more into relationships and spirituality.
Yeah, and sometimes people might mix in like a people pleaser, because you're trying to make sure that everybody's happy around you. And I do hear your friends and family can kind of hold you back, right? Because they want you to succeed, but they don't think that you can succeed the way that you want to go, right? You could have a huge vision and they just don't see it because it's not their vision. So I'd like to maybe twist this a little bit here. And would you consider, I know you're starting the podcast and stuff more, but would you consider the podcasting world to be like a way for you to open up and expand and be yourself and then help find other people to be themselves as well? I mean, just think of what podcasting can do. I mean, you're in Lithuania. I'm here in the US. I mean, we're so far away from each other. So the possibilities are endless. You don't know who you're going to meet, but I'd like to get your answer to that. Do you see podcasting to be the way to be more authentic and connect with others that would encourage you and others to grow?
For me personally, yes, this is my blueprint of my soul, and I discovered it through astrology also. That, by the way, is one of spiritual modalities. That I believe it's one of spiritual modalities that put everything into perspective. What I felt intuitively, but my external environment couldn't reflect it for some reason. And the moment I started changing my environment, I realized that that's my path. That my wound, the core wound in life, was my voice. Everything connected with my voice. I grew up in a family that I couldn't express myself because there was more people dominating my expression, and this what I have been hearing within myself and speaking out loud my experience and hearing other people share their experience. I really loved it. I enjoyed, and this is my vision definitely to speak more and to have my own podcast.
Awesome. So how far along are you with your podcast?
Well, I already had a few opportunities to speak as a guest in the podcast of others, and now I have 3 or 4 episodes already made. So I'm a very, very beginner.
Yeah, which is fine. You have to begin somewhere, right? So I mean, I just encourage you to just keep going before you even say, I quit. So it's going to be a journey. So consider it, maybe a 3 to 5 year journey if you want to succeed, or you just do it for the passion, do it for the love of what you're doing, connecting with others, being authentic, finding yourself, having other people find themselves. And, if there's something on the back end of business or whatever is going on, that can tie in later or tie in right away. But yeah, podcasting is amazing. So, I met with people in Tasmania, I met with people in New Zealand. So for me, that's the other side of the world, and I would have never had that opportunity if I didn't start something. So I commend you for wanting to start a podcast and learn and grow. So I just encourage you to just keep going. I know you're in the beginning stages, but this is cool. Yeah. So,
Jonathan,
yes.
before we move on, I want to say that with authenticity is like that. The moment we come back into self, we know which direction we need to go. And there is no such thing as giving up. If I know that I need to do it, I feel that I need to do it, I am going to do it. And if I have a guidance that, okay, now it's time to stop, to make a pause, I will make a pause. But I just want to assure you that it's not the case for me to quit or stop or whatever, because my connection with the spiritual world says that that's it. I'm moving on and being the podcast.
That's good. Yeah. And so what I find sometimes people start and they get stuck and they want to just focus on money or something like that, not really why they started, and I, you have to find another reason besides like, hey, let's monetize this, that's why I want to start a podcast. Like, that's not what it's about. It's about connecting. It's about communication, learning from others and experiences. People create a podcast and then they create live events to meet those people that they met or, they met online, virtually with their podcast. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of like where I was going with it. Like, some people have the wrong reasons to start a podcast, do it for fun and, do it to learn and grow. So, yeah, I thank you for sharing that. And yeah, and just, you're doing it for a reason.
Or, what also happens? People start on the right foot, knowing the right why, but then they get into the rule of the mind. They start from the heart because they want to feel inspired, but then the mind takes over and they lose their original why. And then it's like money driven, fame driven, like to-do list, a huge one, even when I don't want to do that. And that recipe suddenly doesn't work. What works for others, that was my huge epiphany moment when things I was doing as others were teaching me to in my culture just suddenly didn't work. I was hitting the same wall all over and over again till I realized that I lost connection with my heart. Why I'm doing it? Because of fear of lack or because I love it? So this is the connection to love for what you do is the why that always drives forward.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, that's a great way. So I started not trying to grow an audience. I just started to dive in and get to learn people, learn about other people, connecting other people. And it's been fun. And that's something to remember. Like, you go back and go to why you started. Even when you want to quit or if you want to shift a little bit, is that right shift going to take you off that course, like you just said, of love and not your mind? Yeah. So, Ligita, what is your podcast called, or what is it going to be called if you didn't launch it yet?
I already launched it, and it's called Authentic You Today with Lily, because Lily is my, let's say, stage name.
Okay. And you can find that on Spotify and Apple and all the other platforms?
On YouTube is Authentic You Today with Lily. On Spotify, Authentic You Today. So whatever you Google Authentic You Today, you will find.
Yeah. Awesome. Is there any other links or anything that you want to share that they can connect with you?
The same website, AuthenticYou.today. It's not tomorrow, not yesterday, but today.
Gotcha. No, that's great. Yeah. So I have one question I ask everybody at the end of my episodes. And what are 3 key things you've learned and used along your journey?
First, silence. Silence your mind so you can hear your spirit. Otherwise, we hear only ego minds. So, yeah, silence also helps to connect the spirit, the soul, to the soul. Second would be exactly spiritual connection and those practices, daily practices. Which one of those is silence, but other practices can be just having walks in the nature, gardening, what I do, I love, whatever helps to put into the present moment. That's when we connect to the spiritual realm the most. And the third would be observing and recognizing and changing the pattern. Because trauma works and is visible in the pattern. And that's a very, I will not say a very easy way to heal, but it makes more well, you can heal the trauma when we see the pattern, and then our mind understands what we need to change. And then, of course, the second part goes like emotional healing. But yeah, but everything comes from silence. Silence is number one. Then we are able to hear the spirit and recognize the patterns of behavior.
Yeah.
So, tell me.
Yeah, I was just going to chime in too, like how you mentioned silence and how I would see that it can go with that, and if you're silent and you start to think more about your thoughts and what you went through, then you can kind of break through the habits and everything that you experience with your traumas to come out better on the other side. And I want to say, don't get caught in your thoughts, reach out to somebody, talk to them about somebody that's going to listen and, maybe not say something back to you, but allow you to speak. Because a lot of times you just keep cycling stuff around in your heads and you just don't break the cycle. So, or even write it in a journal or something. But yeah, I could see the silence part affect everything else. Meditate, relax, just, go out in nature, something that kind of breaks the habit of, I guess life, right? Like everybody's like, go, 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 you got to take some silence and break it up a little bit.
Exactly. And the same silence, it changes nervous system. If we give ourselves more time and space to be silent, our nervous system changes. Now, I feel like I became more sensitive after those few years of forced isolation. When I go out, now it's easier for me to spot I'm like energetic antenna, like feeling the energy just all around me. And because now I have a bigger awareness of how to interpret those energies, for me it's easier now to navigate this world. So yeah, it definitely silence changes us also on cellular level, because that's how powerful it is.
Yeah, I'm glad you share that as one of your key things that you learned and used along a journey, because it's definitely beneficial in so many areas of life. So, Ligita, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your journey and how to find authenticity in yourself, and hopefully you can help others through your podcast. I'm glad we were able to connect, and like to keep this connection going as your journey continues with podcasting and stuff. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much, Jon. It was a pleasure to share my story, and I really hope that it serves somehow one way or another your audience. And looking forward to having you on my podcast as well.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it as well. Yeah, thank you.
See you soon.